we're back as we head towards the end of the year and a Christmas break from VIP Boxing Bell to Bell podcast. We're on episode 139. We might do a week or two. We'll let John decide whether we do 1 week or 2 weeks. John Evans is the daddy round here. I'll just, do what I do.
With a Christian Lighter podcast, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah.
Out every week, no matter what. We're
every
here
single week. We're going to have a break for a couple of weeks soon. I've had enough of boxing, I think, this year. Anyway, you're either watching us on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes, where we seem to do really well on iTunes. Thank you very much. You know me, Steve. I already sort of semi-introduced John Evans, who's in the top corner. Hey, tonight's guest is a rarity. Not that we got a journalist on, but he's one of the very few print media journalists who understands, knows boxing, and actually, importantly, cares for the sport and its future. Daily Star, Daily Mirror, Daily Express. I think I've got all your publications there. But I think your heart might be at the Daily Star because that's where you started. It's Chris McKenna. How are you, Chris?
Not too bad, Steve. Yeah, you're right. I think you can throw in another 4 Sunday titles there.
Oh, you're doing the Sundays now as well. So you staff men, I've given you the big intro there. John wanted to give you a bigger intro, and you're putting the Sunday man out of work now. Oh, mate, in my days, mate.
He left to join Arsenal, actually.
In my days, you wouldn't have been allowed in the Sunday huddle from a Dailies one, mate. But now you're running. Now you're running the pack, mate. You say who can go in the Sundays and the Dailies. Now you're the head of the pack.
Nah, far from it, mate. I'm just one of the scufflers, getting a few tails and keeping my head down. But yeah. Daily Star is still you're right, that's where my heart is, and I still think it's one of the best boxing publications in the country. It gives the most space, I think, to the sport in the national media.
Yeah, it does. And even when it's a quiet few weeks in boxing, still on a Saturday, there's always a page or 2 pages, isn't there?
Yeah, I've kept the column going, and that I took on from Kevin Francis, and we've got Frank Warren in there every week as well. So keeps at least one boxing piece every Saturday.
And keeps people talking about Frank Warren all the time.
Yes. Gives him a voice.
Do you actually ghost Frank's column? I know you have done. Do you still ghost the column for him?
Yeah, I do it with Frank every week. Yeah, so we do it on a Thursday or a Friday. We go through what he wants to talk about, whether that's building up one of his shows or whatever the topical things are about, and then kind of knock it into tabloid shape for him, and we go from it there. So been doing it now, must be 3 or 4 years. So
blimey, 4 years is it now? We're blimey, flies, mate, flying. You're scribbling as well, John. I'm fucking outsider now. I feel like a bit, I'm on the outside of you two now. You wouldn't talk to me at a press conference now if you saw me walk in.
You became too big of a TV star, Steve.
Oh, I'm not having that. I don't have that. Right. You know how this works. We talk for. I'm not having that nonsense. You can't call me that.
He went from sitting on the front row of the press seats to sitting in front of the press seats. Didn't he?
Right.
Exactly.
That's enough. That's enough of you two. I got a bit too Larry there, and McKenna shut me down, John. And then Evans went in and finished me off.
Now he's the power behind the throne, making the matches.
All right. Anyway, we're going to crack on with this. I've been done now. I was trying to be a little bit cocky with McKenna there. I got done. He did me. And it was like tag team boxing at whatever that stuff's called that the Sauerlands do. John jumped in and finished it off, victorious. Anyway, we're going to kick on with a podcast. 6 rounds, 3 minutes each round. Are you ready to start? Timeless, John.
Ready.
Chris is going to start us off this week, and Michael Conlon.
Yeah, obviously he had the big disappointing defeat at the weekend against Jordan Gill, and it was kind of I think he was calling it the get back, wasn't he, Mick? And this was supposed to be his last hurrah go at getting into a world title, and obviously it went very wrong, and he was stopped, and he didn't look like his old self. And it was just stuff that was said by seeing a few bits around that people said, oh wow, he's had a good career, but he never won a world title. And it kind of confused me because he won a world title, a pretty big one in 2015, and he remains the only Irish man to ever win that world championships, the 2015 World Amateur Championships. He won it at bantamweight, and he beat some top operators in that division, including I can never pronounce his name, so I've had to make a note of it on my phone. The Uzbekistani Murjan Akhmadaliev. That's why I'm not a broadcaster. who obviously went on and was a unified world champion in the pro ranks. So that's kind of been overlooked with Michael Conlan's career. 2 bronze medal in the Olympic Games, 1 bronze medal, sorry, and a brilliant career as an amateur. And as a pro, he had some brilliant fights. That Lee Wood fight was an absolute epic. When he turned over with Top Rank, I was in New York for that. It was a huge event in the theater at Madison Square Garden. And okay, yeah, he might never win a world title as a professional, but that doesn't mean that he has never been a world champion, because I'm not disregarding any pro that's ever won any world title here. To win any world title, professional or amateur, is very, very difficult. But there's a lot of people who have won world titles in the pro ranks, that are nowhere near as good as Michael Conlan has been as a pro and an amateur. People have nicked titles here and there, been given vacant belts, and they can go on and call themselves world champions forever. And that's great, fair play to them. They dedicated their lives to the sport, they deserve it. But Mick Conlan shouldn't be looked down on just because he hasn't won a pro world title. He's won an amateur world title, which in my view is harder to win than a lot of pro titles out there. There's 4 in every division at least, for a start in the pro ranks. At amateur, there's one world championship every 2 years, and that's tough to win, and you have to beat everybody. So just think that there should be more credit given to him. He's given us a load of great nights, and yeah, top stuff from him.
Hey, I'm with you, Chris. I want to have a word against him before John finishes off. We always remember, I think you mentioned it there, gold and silver in the European Championships, a very, very hard thing to win. And let's not forget how successful he was in the World Series of Boxing, where literally twice a month you were going out and fighting 5 rounds against top operators. You know, fantastic career and great boxing family. And let's just see what happens next of him. Maybe that world title will elude him. And at the moment, it pains me to say it, I think it's be very hard for him to win that world title. Where do you stand, John?
Yeah, you know, I hope Mike doesn't try and win a world title. I hope he stops now, because he looked a bit of a shadow of himself, didn't he? And I think if you spoke to him, you like him. He's as honest as they come. And when you speak to boxers, that's what you want, isn't it? You want them to be honest. I just wonder if it might be another case, like I think you mentioned last week, Steve, that World Series of Boxing took a big toll on a lot of fighters, didn't it? And I just wonder if some of them stayed in it a little bit longer and we didn't quite see the best of those fighters. It gave us great nights watching it. I used to love watching World Series of Boxing on Box Nation, but I just wonder if it took a little bit of an edge off some fighters when we eventually turned pro. But yeah, I like Mick, and it's just a shame, isn't it? It's a shame he's not done what he wanted to do.
We've seen it with Sam Maxwell. If he turned pro 2 years earlier, what might have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, round 2. We're on to someone who maybe didn't reach the great heights of Mick Conlan, but a career I don't think we can forget is Tyrone McKenna. Announced his retirement after he's lost to Crocker at the weekend. Just a procession of wars. You go back to the call with Cattrall. I remember one when he fought a guy called Lewis Benson when I thought he was very lucky to get the nod. It was sensational. The Mimouni win. Even O'Hara Davis, he showed that he can box and still lost the majority decision. I don't think there's been, you talk of like, what Conlan achieved. I don't think there's been an Irish fighter as exciting for him for a long time, even though he never reached the heights of what he should. And I just hope he sticks to his retirement, because I think he's the sort of guy who could come back.
Yeah, he never shirked the challenge, did he? He always was up for it. Anybody around the boxing business will tell you that. He was always, I'll have that fight, I'll do that fight. He took a lot of risks in his career, and it probably, in a weird way, that didn't help him get to the level of his abilities, but delivered Irish boxing and boxing even over here, some great nights, great action, and he was a great character as well, a brilliant character, and yeah, he played a part in making his name bigger by doing that. So fair play to him, and as you say, Steve, same with Mick, it looks like the time is right now, so maybe it is time to walk away.
That's it. He's somebody who really did get everything he could out of a sport.
Yeah.
He doesn't go with any questions, Tyrone, does he? he found out exactly how good he was and just kept trying and trying and trying. That weekend was, it's a crazy fight to watch, wasn't it? It was clear from the opening seconds of that fight almost that Crocker was just now too good, too powerful. Tyrone just didn't budge. We've seen Crocker hurt people badly, haven't we? He's a genuine puncher, Crocker, and he had bad intentions those first 3 or 4 rounds. Tyrone barely stumbled. You could see a couple stung him, but that chin's ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully he's just got out at the right time. We don't need to see him matched in any wars, because that's what people would use him for, as a crowd pleaser.
Oh, he's still there.
Hopefully he goes away now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And also I've got to know him a little bit, and top guy as well. No ego, or low ego. Just a decent fella, and I just hope now he's announced his retirement that he sticks to it, and he could still offer something back to the sport. He's so much of a character not to stay around boxing. So he's got that personality, very easily to warm to as well.
Yeah. Time.
Round 3, we're over to you, John. You usually start us off. Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Ryan Garcia. I genuinely don't. He's a phenomenon in one sense, isn't he? The way he appeals to people. He's got. I always like when he gets to the top level of these fighters, or when we're at world level, I like to see something they've got that's special. Something that just separates them out if a fight gets tough. And Garcia's got that speed. He's phenomenally quick. He can take people out. But then other times he just looks completely lost in and out the ring. That shoulder roll he was doing at weekend, he's been taught that it wasn't natural for him. It didn't work at all. Outside the ring, he maybe lets a little bit of his personal life, too much of it, come out and gets caught up in these arguments and controversies. He wants the biggest fights, but I don't think he's anywhere near ready for them. But he blows away the lower level. He's just a real puzzle to me, Ryan Garcia. He changes trainers every fight, so you never get any consistency. No one ever gets to work with him to try and draw everything he's got out of himself. I don't know how good he is. I still don't, even after all this time and all these big fights. I don't know exactly how good Ryan Garcia is.
Chris, because I've spoken about him a lot, give us your take.
Yeah, I agree with John there. He lacks an identity, weirdly, even though he has such a big social media thing, profile, but he lacks an identity. And the whole stuff with De La Hoya and Hopkins before the fight is not a great look. I mean, look, as a journalist, if I was covering that fight week, you'd be lapping that up. That's great copy, for us, sensational stuff. If it was a British fighter doing that to Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, we would be like, wow, this is gold dust. It's not great for the boxer, but it's gold dust for the media. And I just do worry where his state of mind, and he obviously has had time away from the ring, his mental health battles and stuff like that, and that's serious. But John says he does have these moments. The Luke Campbell fight, when I thought, he's Campbell had him hurt, and then you're like, oh, maybe Luke's going to beat him here, and then he just pulls it out of the bag and he just dominates and gets the stoppage. But it's can he do that regularly against the top levels? And he's going up in weights, and the Romero fight maybe is a good one for him, but that he's called for. But it's a strange one. Is he 25? And he could be one of those fighters that burns really fast, but he's gone in another year or two. I think somebody needs to kind of put an arm around him and kind of give him some proper guidance. And if he's not happy with De La Hoya and Hopkins, he maybe needs to get out of that contract if he can.
Yeah, but they're not going to release him. And my point was going to be, what I've found the strangest thing of all, before Simmons every fight, is him laying into his promoters, the promoters sort of showing a bit of a rhino skin, and then afterwards, De La Hoya telling Mayweather to ring me, I just find it bizarre. And, it's a very good point you make, Chris, about maybe needing that arm round him. It's certainly not going to come from De La Hoya and Hopkins, and I don't mean this with respect to Hopkins. He's not the type of guy to put his arm around anyone and console him. It's just his personality. And De La Hoya isn't going to do that with this relationship as it is, even though he's playing it down all the time. More often than not, it's just a very, very strange setup. But I don't know the terms of the contract, but the chances of him getting him out while he's one of the few golden boy fighters that's generating deep, good money for them, is pretty remote, I should think. But it's very bizarre, especially the promotional relationship. And yeah, it would be gold dust. Imagine that was the Joshua Hearn relationship going on with Eddie defending him and AJ coating him. Oh, mate, you'd be filling pages for years, wouldn't you, right? You'd love it. Look at the smile on him. See, told you he's a Red Top man through and through. Those terrible Red Tops, you'll never see me near them ever.
Yeah, no,
right,
no.
anyway, right. Round 4, going back to you, Chris. Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I try not to rant too much in this one. I'll just caveat this at the start by saying Conor McGregor has in the past donated money to Crumlin Boxing Club, where he boxed when he was an actual boxer. He's never been a boxer since, so don't count that Mayweather fight as a boxing. But so credit to him for doing that. Anybody who gives back to the amateur clubs, I'm a massive fan of for doing that. But what we don't need now is Conor McGregor using boxing, and that's what he's doing. His company, I'm not going to even name them, are pumping money into the sport by sponsoring boxing. Some people will say that's great, but what's the agenda there? What are we doing? His social media at the minute, he's trying to carve out this Donald Trump-like persona. He's trying to incite stuff on there, and there's a lot of issues going on in Ireland about immigration and stuff like that, and he's jumping on this. Anybody who's been involved in boxing, amateur or professional, will tell you the door at an amateur or any boxing club is open to anybody. Conor McGregor is saying that there needs to be more vetting on people coming in and out of Ireland, but he also forgets that Ireland is a country for decades and decades have emigrated people all over the world. What he said that went on, and I'm sorry to make this boxing podcast too political, about foreign people in Ireland doing heinous crimes. Yes, it's true, but also Irish people do it, and Irish people have gone abroad and done it, murders and all sorts of things like that. So look, people in Irish people have been lucky to emigrate and have been welcomed in now, but there was a time where Irish people weren't welcomed when they went abroad, and it's not that long ago, and he needs to remember that. But boxing shouldn't allow him in to kind of what he's trying to do, be a normal character, be a character. So jumping in the ring, giving Anthony Joshua a pint of stout, don't want to see that. If he wants to rein all that back in on social media, fair play, then maybe he can come into the sport. But while he's doing that, boxing should.
Chris, I mean, obviously, I didn't know how much. I don't follow his social media, so I didn't know. I knew about the initial stuff about when it all, the terrible stuff that happened in Dublin a week or two ago. I think they couldn't even leave the hotel. Some of the people were told not to before the fight there the other week. Might not be true, but I was told that. But is there a site? Is he? Well, how is Ireland at the moment with McGregor? Is it split down the middle, or are they with him? Is it, is he polarizing everything there?
I think he's always been a polarizing figure. This thing, when I remember around the Mayweather fight, everybody was saying to me, "Oh, the whole of Ireland must be wanting him to beat Floyd Mayweather." Absolutely not. He had a kind of a fan base who are MMA fans, and not just MMA fans, but general bandwagon jumpers, I'd call them. But they were true in age bracket, probably at the time 18 to 30s, where he kind of captured them. Obviously, those people are older now, but that was where he captured at that time. But older people didn't like him. Irish people don't like arrogant, cocky. And look, I'm not knocking him for that. In the MMA world, that's sold, and he made a fortune out of it. Fair play to him. But a lot of Irish people weren't really sold on him. He had a massive fan base, though, but the whole of Ireland wasn't behind him. Nowhere near, say, something like a Katie Taylor or even a Mick Conlan when he was in the Olympics, and nowhere near that kind of love. Very polarized, but now he's even more polarized because of what's gone on recently. So he's not seen as even those people that did love him when he was at the top of UFC. I think a lot of them have gone a bit cold on him too. But he's also tapping into another market now, which is people who want to hate on people.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I think with McGregor,
politicalising the Bell podcast. Sorry, lad.
You say what you want to say. That's what you're here for. People want to hear your opinion on it.
With McGregor, it changed the Rammer Floyd fight because phenomenal what he did in the UFC. Absolutely phenomenal. If you know what you're watching, the way he burst onto the scene and was taking people out was incredible. And the talk and things he used to come out with before those fights it was funny. It was funny. When he got to the Floyd fight, it just went to a completely different level over the top. It's like he became a new character, one that just completely overshadowed everything he'd done in MMA before. And I never understood why he took it to that level, because he cracked it with doing what he was doing before. I was talking to somebody who knows him very well, actually, a few weeks ago. And he said, with the people he grew up with the people from the estate he grew up with, he still looks after them all very well. He's took them with him. And maybe that's the people who are still loyal to him, Chris. I don't know. I'm not from there. But maybe the people on those housing estates around Crumlin, they're the ones who'll be loyal to him till the day he stops. But I can see exactly why he's such a polarizing figure these days. I just think he's took his gimmick too far, way too far.
Brilliant for that. Thanks for that, Chris, and you, John. There, round 5. You know what? Quite disturbing. It's just got. I don't know. You can't stop things, obviously. This Manny Pacquiao comeback that seems quite serious. I remember. Well, I think Chris, I was on. Must have been with you on a couple Pacquiao fights towards the back end of his career. And I think there was always the feeling that if there was one fighter that was going to come back at a daft age, it was going to be Manny Pacquiao, because he had so many people sponging off him. It was, I've never seen entourages like it. It was just like, it was just like leaves to a tree, these people around him. And we're 28 years on now from his professional debut. And I find it quite worrying that it's reported that Bob Arum might be embracing his comeback. Now, I think I'm a big fan of Bob Arum and what Top Rank have done over the years, but I just think it'd be absolutely horrendous if they encourage this comeback. Someone will, but Top Rank have made a lot of money from him before, and it's almost like, if he comes back, promoters are trying to wring the last bit of the carcass that's left of Manny Pacquiao. I find it quite horrific, and I'd be really quite upset actually if Bob Arum was behind it, given what he has been in boxing over the years. To bring back Pacquiao at this age, I just don't want it. And Pacquiao, Josh Taylor, just fills me with horror.
You said 28 years there. I didn't even realize it was that long, but what I've just
it's about 28 years. It was about 2005 he turned pro, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not doubting it. I'm sure it's right.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, not doubting your figures, but what it's reminding me of is that, yesterday we had Ronnie O'Sullivan winning the UK Championship, and I'm bringing snooker now into the belt to belt, but people were amazed that he's won. I think there's a 30-year gap between his first UK Championship and that, and I don't think anybody's ever won a major at his age. Could be wrong, not a snooker expert, but I remember there's been surprised that he could win it 30 years ago and still be able to do it now. That's a snooker player. He's walking around with a stick, and it's a very skillful sport, but he's not taking blows to the head. And people thinking that Manny Pacquiao coming back would be good. But there's so many people in boxing that will have him back because broadcasters will broadcast him, and that's the problem. And until those people act with more responsibility, there's going to be stuff like this happening all the time.
Yeah. Surely if you want to make money out of Manny Pacquiao, he does exhibitions in the Middle East and boxes YouTubers and no hopers. Why bring him back against Josh Taylor? How much money does that generate? It's the amount of pay-per-view money that generate in Britain is negligible. It's nothing, is it? Put him against the YouTuber in the Middle East and let him enjoy himself and earn $50 million for doing that. I just don't understand what the possible returns are from getting one of the legends smashed to bits by someone who wouldn't have been in his league a few years ago. Yeah. Don't make any financial sense to me whatsoever. I can't see a benefit.
I think you can't say any more on that. I just don't want it to happen. I love Pacquiao. Just don't want it to happen. And Pete, as you say, broadcasters, promoters, as you say, Chris, have got to take more responsibility. Right, round 6. I've flown by this tonight. Round 6, one of my favourite topics or favourite divisions. Go on, John.
Yeah, we love the cruiserweights, don't we? But the British cruiserweights, they might not be as talented as other weight divisions in Britain. We've got some good fighters, haven't we? And a lot of strength in depth in some divisions. But the cruiserweights from top to bottom, from 1 to maybe 12, fair play to them all. They give their all every time. They fight each other. If you look at the mix we've had between Chamberlain, Okoli, Billum Smith, Riakporhe, Massey, they've all fought each other, and it's been going on for 4 or 5 years. There's no ducking, there's no complaining about money. They get in the ring and me fight. Billum Smith's defending his world title on Saturday night against Masternak, and it'll be a tough fight because all these British cruiserweights only ever have tough fights. They won't make it easy. It'll be good to watch. And then I've got no doubt he'll be boxing against someone like Isaac Chamberlain, who's just been mandated for the European, or he'll box against Riakporhe. And yeah, I just think we set a little bit of a good example to the rest of British boxing. You know, no, they cut out the talk, they get in the ring and we fight. Yeah, we've had two of them throwing with people pulling out of purse bids. But if you look at the mix between themselves at British title level and European title level, I think they've set a pretty good example over the last few years.
You in black and white, Steve?
Yeah. Oh, mate, it was only 3 channels then. That's all there were. Oh, Channel 4 had come along. Glenn McCrory beat TJ. I mean, fights like that. And then yesterday, it was brilliant you can't, because yesterday I watched a clip on Twitter, and I'll have to find it and send it to you, John and Chris. It was a fight I'd forgotten all about, and there was about 2-3 minutes of action from Carl Thompson and Terry Dunstan. Oh, for crikey. It was something else. I'll have to find it somehow and tag you into it. It was brilliant. It was a fight I'd forgotten. It's been the most exciting division in Britain for decades, and this current crop are just carrying it on. And Billum Smith, I don't think he's ever going to be the greatest cruiserweight, but I tell you what, what we mentioned a lot, you get out of the sport what you put in. And I know talented kids in this cruiserweight division, you know, who are well down the British rankings, who has got more talent than him. But that guy just lives and breathes the sport. And I reckon since his success, he's never eaten a chocolate bar above 50 calories, if there is one. I mean, and that's why I love Billum Smith. I love fighters like that who make the most of what they got, and when they get the opportunity, just say yes and how much. Brilliant division, and it's great they're all fighting each other still, and long may it continue. All these other divisions should just look at the cruiserweights and what they do. What's your take on the cruiserweight division? Chris, you're around them more than I am, these guys.
Yeah. Just the point that kind of John made is like, we're talking about Billum Smith, Riakporhe. It's a rematch if that happens, because Billum Smith fought Riakporhe earlier in his career, got lost. Very close fight, a really good fight, but he lost. And he's gone on, dug in, and become a world champion. And that should be, as you've both said, a lesson to other divisions that take these fights, because you learn from them. You learn more in these fights than fighting not somebody that's not good enough. And you'll be able to come back from it even if you lose. If you've seen it in the past with the Gale and Groves and people like that, people have come back. But even at the level of Billum Smith, who is never probably destined to be a world champion, but as Steve said, he has gritted his teeth. He's stuck in that gym with Shane McGuigan. He gave up boozing because he knew that was taken away from him, even though he would never booze in camp. But that recovery time between camp, and he was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to knock it on the head because I want to make the most out of everything. He kind of said himself, I don't have the talent of others. I need to work harder. And that's what he's doing. And he deserves massive credit. I hope he can go and beat Masternak and then set up some more British world title fights. And he took on a Coley, which wasn't an easy fight to take either. It was a tough fight, awkward opponent, and he went and he won it. It was a great night to do that in Bournemouth, and he's going back there, and hopefully he could have an all-British fight back at Bournemouth next summer again.
Yeah, you know what?
A great little venue as well, by the way, Bournemouth for boxing.
I've never been there.
It was a great fight week for the Coley fight. Obviously it helps when it's in the summertime and there's a bit of sunshine down there, but there was just a little bit of buzz about it. Great atmosphere, and we need boxing more in places like that to kind of build fan bases and build followings behind these fighters, because fighting at the O2 in London is great, but if you're from Norwich or somewhere like that, it's not easy for your fans to get there and support you.
I even like that little period where we had Rob Norton against Leon Williams.
Rob Norton.
anything like that. The fights were awful, but I always just, I don't know, there's something about those cruiserweights. I've just always...
Leon Williams and the guy from Nottingham, that British cruiserweight title fight where he got knocked out in the last round.
Last second,
Leon got knocked out. Incredible division. But there you go. Shane McPhilbin, big Shane. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then Enzo did Shane.
Enzo, yeah. But Enzo was nearly done in the first round.
It's great stuff.
Enzo was saved by the bell. Well, could have been stopped in the first round. But you know what? We've only got 2 minutes left here. And I think a lot of the problems with a lot of these fighters these days is a lot of them are getting mad sponsor money. They're on... I'm going off here, but something was on my mind today. I'm not going to name the fighter. It would be unfair on him because he's got the sponsorship. I've spoken to someone about a fighter today, and they got their sponsors about to renew their deal from February. This guy's getting 20 grand a year sponsorship. He's having 4 rounders. Where is the ambition for him to want to go and have a hard fight?
Mm. Yeah,
I know another one who's a good fighter. Gets £500 a week sponsorship money. I'm not going to name these guys because I'm not. And if a man can get it, good luck. But I think a lot of boxers, especially these small boxers who might get sponsored by a good building firm and stuff, it's unbelievable. But there you go. Anyway, maybe that's for another topic, another week, fellas.
Well, let's hope that we do what Chris was saying. Let's hope we do Sam Noakes and Mark Chamberlain in the first part of next year, and we follow the Groves and De Gale example, or we follow Billum Smith and Riakpo. They're both capable fighters. It doesn't matter who loses. Doesn't matter. One of them will move on. The other one can follow up in the wake and make a rematch down the line. But I think they're the fights. And it's, to be fair, it does seem to be happening a little bit more. The promoters seem to be talking a little bit differently. So fingers crossed it changes.
So they should. But fellas, we're going to wrap it up there. We're a bit too mean to pay the £10 a month on this. You know, Steve Wood don't
get anything, do we?
Now we've got 1 minute 38 left.
Well, I'm not getting my fee for this then, Steve.
Fee?
Send it to Woody.
Send it to Woody. Come to VIP show at Bolton on Saturday, and Woody might buy you half a lager. It's about £6, £7 a pint there, I'm told. But I don't know what it is. But there you go. You come there Saturday, Chris, and you can attack Woody. John, thanks as always. John will decide whether we're doing 1 week or 2 weeks before Christmas. He's the daddy round there. So you have a think on that, John. Thanks, everyone, for watching, listening. I really enjoyed this evening, especially catching up with my old friend, Chris McKenna. Thanks, everybody.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.